Welcome to Land of the Bible. I'm your host, David Sussman. This week, we're going to learn about the gates of Jerusalem's Old City. Located in the heart of Israel, in the Judean mountains and nearly 3,000 feet above sea level, stands one of the most sacred places on earth, Jerusalem's Old City. For thousands of years, this city has drawn the faithful, a place where heaven and earth seem to meet. For the Jewish people, this is the city of King David, the site of the Holy Temple, the place where the divine presence never departs. For Christians, these ancient streets lead to Calvary, where Christians believe Jesus was crucified and resurrected, offering salvation to the world. The gates of the Old City have seen it all: triumph and tragedy, worship and war, prophecy and peace. From the days of King Solomon all the way to the modern state of Israel, each gate holds a story, a mystery, a message waiting to be discovered. I'm David Sussman, and on this episode of Land of the Bible, we unlock the secrets of Jerusalem's legendary gates, from the iconic Jaffa Gate to the majestic Damascus Gate. What do they reveal about the city's past, and how do they shape its future? Join me as we step into the past, explore the present, and embrace the eternal mystery of the Holy City.
I absolutely love walking down Jaffa Road, seeing the modern light rail station here in Jerusalem as I approach the Old City. The hustle, the bustle, everyone walking around doing their own thing in order to get to the Old City, which is really what we're focusing our attention on today in this week's episode. So come with me as we head over to the walls of the Old City. I never take it for granted that I'm part of the generation that gets to walk along the walls of the Old City of Jerusalem, the Holy City, a city which history spans over 3,000 years, since the days of King David. If only these walls could speak. Well, they kind of can. The stones themselves tell us a story of the various empires and rulers who were in charge of Jerusalem during these 3 millennia. Sometimes it was Jewish kings, other times Christian kingdoms, and of course, the Islamic rule of Jerusalem, which spanned almost 1,400 years. We are going to touch the stones of the Old City to listen to the stories that they have to tell us. We are going to visit some of the major gates of the Old City. There's the New Gate, Damascus Gate, Herod's Gate, Flowers Gate, Lion's Gate. There's Dung Gate, Zion Gate, and of course, the all-important one, Mercy Gate or Golden Gate. But we're going to begin our tour today at Jaffa Gate, an important gate that provides an entranceway from the west. So come with me as we head over to Jaffa Gate. let's talk a little bit about the walls themselves and the four quarters that are housed inside of them. Those quarters are the Jewish, the Christian, the Muslim, and the Armenian quarters, which today houses a population of roughly 38,000 people. But who built the walls of the old city that we see today, and when? If I were to ask you when they were built, what would you say? 3,000 years ago from the times of King David? 2,000 years ago from the times of the Second Temple? 1,000 years ago from the times of the Crusaders? All those answers are kind of correct. But the fact of the matter is that the walls of the old city today are only roughly about 500 years old. Built by a Suleiman, the leader of the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish Empire, Suleiman the Magnificent. The Turkish Ottoman Empire ruled Jerusalem for roughly about 400 years, from the beginning of the 16th century to the beginning of the 20th century. And like all the other foreign rulers of Jerusalem and the land of Israel, they treated their Jewish population as second-class citizens, and they did nothing to improve the quality of life here in Jerusalem for its inhabitants. And why did Suleiman the Magnificent build these walls at all? Why invest all of that money into a city that he really didn't care that much about? So the legend has it that he had a dream, and in that dream these lions attacked him, and he would wake up thinking he was about to die. So he went to somebody to interpret those dreams. And they said that the lions represent the tribe of Judah, the Jewish people, and they're upset that you haven't built a wall around their holy city. So he brings together a team of architects and builders and masons, and he comes to Jerusalem in order to build some of the most magnificent walls that Jerusalem has ever seen. Let's take a closer look at some of the stones that he used to build the walls with. Come with me. When Suleiman gets word from his architects and builders that this wall is going to cost so much money, he asked them why. And they said, well, to build this massive edifice, these huge walls, you're going to need to quarry out so many stones. And he says, wait a second, wasn't Jerusalem conquered, reconquered, conquered again so many times? Aren't there a ton of stones from previous walls lying all around Jerusalem? Let's just use some of those stones. So when you look behind me right now, you can see all of the stones. They look different from one another, and they each have their own story. Let's take, for example, the stone we can see over here. It might not actually be the best example. Maybe this one's a little bit better. You can actually see how there's a beautiful frame around it and a little rough interior area. This probably dates back to the time period of Herod, to the end of the Second Temple period, roughly about 2,000 years ago. You have a stone over here. And if you guys come in a little bit, you'll notice that there are these diagonal lines that are running across the stone. You see a lot of this type of masonry in the Christian quarter, and that's because this stone is a Crusader style stone. So it's roughly 1,000 years old, 900 years old. But for me, the most special of all the stones that you can see all around the old city is this stone right here. Look at this stone. It seems a little unremarkable when you just walk past it. I mean, so many people do. They never stop to take notice that this stone looks a little different than the other ones all around. And the reason why is you have this frame all around it, and then this protruding boss. Now that protruding boss serves a purpose, right? If somebody comes with a catapult and they're, throwing stones at the wall to demolish the stone, this is before we had, F-35s, it would deflect the stone and the impact would be less than on a flat surface. But who constructed this stone? That's the important part. This stone actually dates back to the Hashmonean period, and that's the time period of Hanukkah. Every time I take a group here to the old city, I make them stop, put their hands on this stone. I take a picture of them so that if they celebrate Hanukkah, they can put that picture next to their Hanukkah, their menorah that they light for the Festival of Lights, and they'll know that they touched a stone that dates back to the time period of that festive holiday.
Imagine walking where Jesus walked, where faith comes to life. Feel the Bible story unfold around you, from the green Galilee to Jerusalem's ancient streets. Experience the serene and welcoming land of the Bible, where miracles happen. Put your heart where His footsteps are. Visit Israel.
Finally, we've arrived to Jaffa Gate, the first gate in which we're going to explore today. And Jaffa Gate derives its name because from the moment it was built all the way until today, there's a road that leads all the way to the ancient city of Jaffa, which is incorporated as part of the modern city of Tel Aviv. Now that makes Jaffa Gate one of the most popular gates with Westerners, because from the time that Jewish and Christian pilgrims were flocking to the Holy Land in the middle to late 19th century, they came by ships that would port in that ancient city of Jaffa. And from there, they would take their caravans to the holy city of Jerusalem, arriving to this gate, which is probably why Wilhelm Kaiser, the Prussian king who came here in 1907 to inaugurate one of the churches he built here in the Old City, decided to enter the Old City through Jaffa Gate. Jaffa Gate is one of the most beautiful gates here in the Old City, and the reason behind it is you can see the beautiful inverted Corinthian capitals, the beautiful ornate arches. It's gorgeous. It's amazing masonry. But guess what? The Turks didn't do that Masonic work. They took these stones from a pre-existing building and incorporated it into Jaffa Gate. As we head into the Old City, I just want you to take notice of the Arabic inscription you have on the wall there, which commemorates Suleiman the Magnificent, right? Self-entitled the Magnificent One. Also, the name Suleiman is Arabic for Solomon or Shlomo in Hebrew, something to take note of. But that sign over there commemorates his glory and the glory of God for enabling them the ability to build such a magnificent wall. And it really was and is an incredible wall. Come into the entrance with me as we head into Jaffa Gate. As we enter into Jaffa Gate, you'll notice this very unassuming but important defensive concept, and that is this 90-degree left-hand turn. Now, why would that help in defending the city? Let's just assume, and the old city walls were never breached, but let's assume some invading army came with their battering rams, bashed open the doors of Jaffa Gate, took their horses, and came into the old city. They would have to take those horses and make a 90-degree turn, which is really difficult for horses to do, which is going to give the defenders of the city more time with their bow and arrows, their spears, hand-to-hand combat. However they are defending the city, it's going to give them more time to do so. One of the great attractions here in the Old City is the Ramparts Walk. To be able to walk on top of the walls of the Old City, giving unprecedented views inside all four quarters, as well as the modern city of Jerusalem to the outside. In addition to walking along the walls, they have these awesome figurines all over the place that's got like a little QR code that you can scan that tells you about the various time periods of Jerusalem. One of the fun things that kids love doing is peeking out through one of the slits here in the Old City walls, where defenders of the Old City would be, during the Jordanian times, the Jordanians used to sit here with guns facing towards the Jewish communities in Western Jerusalem. Earlier times during the Turkish period, they'd be sitting here with bow and arrow, spears, all different ways to defend the Old City. But my favorite part of being up here is looking down on the homes, seeing the basketball courts, seeing the way the people of the Old City live today, from the Muslim quarter to the Jewish quarter, and from the Christian quarter to the Armenian quarter. It's all really amazing. One of the significant features here in the old city walls is the Tower of David, which was given the name by the Crusaders roughly about 1,000 years ago, but has nothing to do with King David himself. And that's that big tower. It's actually a minaret that you can see behind me, which was a mosque that was built during the Umayyad period, probably around 1,200 years ago, but is built on the foundations of King Herod's palace here in the old city, which consisted of 3 main towers named after one of his wives, Miriam, his brother Fasael, and his best friend Hippicus. And that palace of his would later become the fortifications of the future rulers of Jerusalem. But the entrance to King Herod's palace is believed by many archaeologists to be from the outside going inside right here. We're walking through the entrance of King Herod's palace 2,000 years ago. So this would have been the gate right here. In fact, as I run up here, I'm literally on the last step, and the gate was right behind me going into King Herod's palace. Of course, it was sealed and fortified by the Ottomans when they built the walls. Wow! Amazing. Come on, let's continue. Wow, this is cool. Come over here, check this out. So this whole section here that we've been walking along dates back again to the Hashmonean period, the story of Hanukkah. This was a guard tower along the walls of the old city. And you can again see that Hashmonean style of masonry with the frame and the protruding boss deflecting any cannonballs that would have been launched at it with a catapult. Very cool. Wow, Zion Gate. We've arrived to our second gate here of the old city today. And it's named Zion Gate because it leads out onto Mount Zion, which is also the traditional resting place of King David, which is why the Arabs here call it Bawaba Dawood, which means the Gate of David, referring to King David. It has another name as well, which is called the Wounded Gate, and that should be for obvious reasons. You can see all the potch marks from bullets that have been fired in this direction during the battles that were fought here in 1948, when the Jewish residents here in the Old City, as well as Jerusalem's modern city, tried to make sure that at least the Jewish core of the Old City would remain in Jewish hands, if not the entire Old City. Unfortunately, we lost those battles, and the Jordanians who took over exiled the Jewish residents from the old city out of this gate. So this gate has a lot of meaning to me, because on one side it represents our exile from the old city, but on the other hand, in 1967, this was one of the gates that the forces in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, entered the old city to liberate it and once again bring it back to Jewish hands, and making it a place that people like me and Jews around the world and people around the world from all different faiths can come and worship the way that they want to. It is an absolutely beautiful gate. And one last thing I'll mention is just on the inside, you know, there's a mezuzah. There's a prayer that's recited by Jews every day called the Shema. And in that Shema, it says that we are to adorn the gates of our cities and the doors of our homes with a mezuzah, which is a very special scroll with some Hebrew prayers on it. And I don't know any other city anywhere in the world that has mezuzahs adorned to their gates, other than the old city of Jerusalem over here. But the mezuzah on Zion Gate was made with the lead and the copper and the various metals that were used for the bullets that were fired into the wall. So when they took those bullets out, they melted them down and made this really beautiful mezuzah, very significant, very meaningful mezuzah for a very meaningful gate in a meaningful place. So let's head on down to Dung Gate now. One thing that Jerusalem is not in lack of is archaeology and the ruins that have been unearthed by archaeologists. And this path that goes around the old city walls, you can see some of those excavations that have taken place. I would say it's safe to bet that every square inch of Jerusalem, if you were to dig just a mere few inches to a few feet in the ground, you're going to find something that dates back to the Crusader period, to the Byzantine period, to the Second Temple period, to the First Temple period. Obviously, the deeper you go, the older it gets. And here you can see there's a beautiful mosaic floor and some walls, some staircases, most likely dating back to various time periods as this excavation goes pretty deep. And this is between Zion Gate and Dung Gate. So let's continue down the path to the next gate. Oh wow, would you look at that? This is our first glance at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is located on the Temple Mount, the place that the first and second temple stood. All right, my friends, welcome to Dung Gate, a very popular gate for tourists today because buses can unload their groups here, and this is the closest point to the Western Wall. So just through that gate and through a short security check, tour groups can arrive to the Western Wall. There's also the Southern Wall Archaeological Park, which is a very, very important place as well. You can walk up the stairs that led up to the Temple Mount during the Second Temple period. It's also on the other side, on the outside of the gate, the closest that you can get to the City of David, another very popular tourist attraction and significant, meaningful spiritual place here in Jerusalem. So why is it called Dung Gate? It's not such a pretty name at all. And the reason why is that this was the area during many periods of time where the residents of the old city would throw out their trash. So it had a very awful smell in this area. But it's also a little bit of a new gate. If you take a look at it, it looks kind of new. Well, not exactly. When the Ottomans built it, it was a very, very small gate that, you know, people could go into really only on foot, not even with a horse and carriage. And the municipality in 1985 widened the gate so that buses can actually enter and cars can enter, taxis can enter. They can get vehicles in and out of the old city through Dung Gate.
I will bless those who bless you, God promised Abraham. Embrace this covenant by connecting with the people of Israel. From Jerusalem's stones to Galilee's shores, experience living faith through their traditions and hospitality. Your journey is more than visiting biblical sites. It's about hearts that welcome your friendship. Your presence matters. Discover Israel.
In between Dung and Damascus Gate are two very important gates known as Lion's Gate and the Golden Gate. Lion's Gate is very significant because it was here that the Israel Defense Forces entered into the Old City in 1967 in order to liberate the Old City. It's also the point in which many Christian tourists enter the Old City, and then they'll follow along the path of the Via Dolorosa, which is the way of suffering. However, it's Golden Gate that is the most significant for us. And the reason why is that according to Jewish tradition, this is the gate that the Messiah will walk through as he enters the Old City. It's also believed by Christians that this is the gate in which Jesus exited the Old City. Now today, it's completely sealed off. And there are many traditions as to why this is, but one of them is that the Muslim rulers of the Old City wanted to prevent the possibility of the Messiah walking through that gate. And why that gate specifically? Because that gate is the only one that goes directly onto the Temple Mount. My friends, we have arrived to what I believe is the most beautiful and ornate of all the gates here in the old city of Jerusalem, Damascus Gate. And it's called Damascus Gate for similar reasons that Jaffa Gate is called Jaffa Gate. There was a road from here that led right to the city of Damascus, the capital of today, Syria. The earliest depiction of Damascus Gate is in the Madaba map, which was part of a mosaic that was discovered on a church floor from the Byzantine period in what is today Jordan. And in this Madaba map, it shows Damascus Gate with a pillar, which gives yet a third name for this gate, which is the Column Gate. In addition, Hadrian, one of the Roman emperors who destroys Jerusalem and builds a Roman city here, will build his triumphal arch. And you can see a remnant of that triumphal arch still to this very day, just outside of Damascus Gate.
Jerusalem is a city that never stops growing, where history and modern life blend together in remarkable ways. From its early neighborhoods to its vibrant markets and high-tech centers. Join me as we explore the new and modern city of Jerusalem.
Wow, what a beautiful day as we walked around the old city walls, discovering its beautiful gates and so much more. But what I'm really looking forward to is seeing you here again next week as we connect you to the people, places, and lands of the Bible.